page loads, which for people on mobile phones with slower internet, or people with limited data plans, or just our beta or our bandwidth rather consumption. So Captcha still supports NoScript. So we haven't really made any major changes as far as our use of JavaScript. I mean, frankly, it's a miracle that any websites work without JavaScript these days, and you can still use Fortune without JavaScript. But frankly, you should expect a very broken experience on the web, because every other website on the internet has JavaScript out the fucking wazoo, like megabyte of JavaScript per page. So it's sorry if you don't like JavaScript, but it is what it is. And Fortune is kind of at the forefront of not requiring JavaScript. Speak slowly, please. Sorry, I speak quickly. That was said like 7 hours ago. Uh, 5062 kind of puts forth had a question, a suggestion to should Fortune be a historically protected site of the internet? To my knowledge, no sort of thing exists today in terms of historically protecting anything on the internet. But this is an interesting thought. I mean, 4chan is. I mean, I don't think anything should be a time capsule, and 4chan is kind of a time capsule in the sense that it really, the functionality. Sure, we've added functionality through the aforementioned extension.js and JavaScript, but we've still, I think, always kind of maintained true to our roots and are a very Web 1.0 website. So in that sense, it is a time capsule. I mean, you can still use the old CSS. I mean, if you want to see what old 4chan looked like, I mean, the functionality of the extension will still be there, but you just go to the bottom right and select Futaba or Braychan, and it's incredible how little the site has changed in that sense, and the core kind of layout. But it's kind of don't fix what ain't broke. Again, people complain when we did HTML rewrite and all that stuff because it broke the site for a little bit for a handful of people. But anyway, I don't know what that would look like. I mean, I think Fortune is a time capsule in some ways, but I don't think that it should have to be kind of completely stationary. Again, just as the community is kind of dynamic and changes over time, I think the site should kind of change with them, and it does. But I do like that idea kind of. And I think 4chan, I mean, the way to kind of preserve 4chan or its historical kind of value to the internet is just to ensure that it continues to exist. So, and I really hope that continues to be the case and it's around for 20 years. 5155. Moot, what do you think is the worst aspect of 4chan, and if anything can be done to fix it? I would say one of the only things that's kind of gotten me down over the years is how little users seem to care for one another these days. That kind of pains me sometimes when I see, again, people screaming about cross-boarding and fuck you, go back to XYZ board and stuff like that. And again, I think that's really unhealthy for the community. I think that people need to appreciate that, we're all 4chaners in one way or another. And even if you don't like XYZ board, it doesn't mean that they have any less of a, kind of a place on the site. Again, 4chan is not a right, it's a privilege, but, I think to resent somebody for using a certain board or to be of a certain demographic or whatever, I think you should kind of think of your fellow users as your fellow man. And, I guess we kind of touched on this earlier with anime outside of kind of the Japanese culture boards, and People have just gotten really so nasty to one another on the site, and sometimes it's just, again, it's the user, again, like if you hate everybody else, whatever, but the seeing users kind of bicker towards one another and kind of shit on one another inside of threads or between threads or between boards and stuff like that is kind of a bummer. And I would hope that, again, people can kind of adopt the take it easy mentality and not just kind of shit all over each other, because it makes it just such a kind of toxic. I mean, again, unfortunately, it's been that way to some degree. It's really primarily be for a long time, just in terms of, yes, not being friendly to outsiders, right? I mean, kind of erecting this kind of sociocultural barrier, this language, these various means of kind of regulating who could and couldn't use 4chan, and making it very unappealing and just unappetizing to new users, to kind of regulate, again, who could be a member of the community, because 4chan is lacking in these kind of structural barriers to entry, like registration or a paywall. But again, if somebody is already a 4chaner, they've passed they climbed the wall and passed it. It's like, again, it's just like, give us a break. Ends up shitting up threads way more when I see, again, somebody post some random picture and then 10 people tell them to go kill themselves. It's like, dude, okay, that's a waste of 10 posts. There's a waste of resources, database and application server resources and whatnot. So it was because of the SJWs, like every other site, 4chan had to align its politics and align with other quote-unquote social networks. Thanks for clarifying this by 5184. If that's what you've taken away from the set, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, God help you. God help you. Because I certainly can't. If that's been your takeaway. What color will your palm tree be now? 5209. I mean, the current, maybe I should change it, but the current capcode that I guess I'll have access to is, well, I mean, I can access the regular one out, but is the admin emeritus, and it's just red with the red, so I have a red palm tree still. Will Moot at 4chan.org still be operational? Has it even been operational? Who will we contact now? 5231. So I can still access that, and will for the foreseeable future, and plan to set up some sort of forwarding, or that'll definitely be a stipulation and whatever ends up happening long term. But I do want to continue to receive email there. So yeah, I can still receive email there, and going forward, again, you should use /feedback. I've tried to really discourage email. I mean, I actually took my email off of the contact page. Some people noticed that, but I took that like months and months and months ago. I mean, like last summer, just to decrease the amount of email I got, because it was just kind of becoming overwhelming. And again, none of it is very positive or constructive. It just ended up being kind of too much of a time sink to read 10,000 unban requests that I don't resolve via email. And so again, you just have to go through the appeals form. So I've tried to direct most of the kind of contact stuff through. Again, if you want to do advertising, then there's no address for that. And but you can go through the self-serve, and for ban appeals, there's the appeal form, and for feedback, there's the feedback form. So we've tried to kind of limit the really just the 4chan passive forward and the advertising emails, but really try to concentrate all of that through kind of these feedback forms that we have now, or kind of not automated, but again, kind of structured ways of providing feedback or getting help with something. So that's going to be the best way to be in touch going forward with the kind of transition and the new administration. In the end, did you have fun, Moot? 5357. I had so much fun. Yeah, I mean, it's funny when people are, accuse me of having a tantrum or,